that rotation has shifted. It is, in fact, just to the west of Opelousas. Here's that green going northbound, and here's that red going southbound. There's your rotation. This looks to go right over Opelousas. So again, we don't know if there is a tornado on the ground. We don't have ground confirmation yet, but this is not a good sign to see that rotation coming right over Opelousas. You need to be in that lowest level of your home, away from windows, away from those outside walls in case there is debris being picked up by this storm. Again, this tornado warning in effect until 8:45 for this storm, 9 o'clock for the one that includes Vermilion Parish. So you can see that we have this rotation here just to the west of Opelousas. This is going to be in Opelousas probably within the next radar scan. So within the next 3 to 5 minutes, we are looking at that rotation working its way on in. There you go. There is the new radar scan. Still just to the south, but let's get in a little bit tighter here and show you that Coyote Lane, Charles Burr Lane, Highway 190, all included in this. This is more so on the southern side right now. Burr Street, Park Avenue, Brown Street, LA 357, McCarthy Lane, and then headed up towards South Market Street. All of these areas are going to be included in this tornado potential, this area of spin in the atmosphere. And this is going to cross the interstate, I-49, right at the main interchange, right at Highway 190. So if you're in Opelousas, if you're driving towards Opelousas, stay off the roads for a little bit, pull over to the side, let this pass, and then within the next 5-10 minutes, things should be settling down and the threat should be exiting the area. We are going to be following this, though, as it continues to roll on through, because right now it is in Opelousas. This is of the main concern right now with this system out of the 2 tornado warnings we have in effect. Let's go ahead and show you what's going on currently. And this is the reason that we have that tornado warning. There is some very heavy rain, possibly some hail falling with this too. I'm just going to pop that up and see. No hail being reported right now, but very, very heavy rain. Right now on our Barron button, let me see what this is plotting here. 58 mile per hour, so severe winds there, and that pink purplish shading is indicating some possible hail to fall with this. Again, this is right in Opelousas, so this is where that rotation would be the greatest threat right now. Going back to reflectivity, what I wanted to show you was this. We have this band that's set up right here, and then we have this band that's surging down to the south. So you're getting winds coming in on the backside, and that's helping to increase the reflectivity, that view that you have of how heavy the rain is. That is helping to lift up more moisture and make it rain a whole lot faster and gust out these winds. So we're talking some very strong winds, well over severe limits there, more than likely. We're also going to be watching right in this little nook right here. This is where tornadoes like to form, because you have all these converging winds and you get a little spin up along the line. Now, oftentimes these little tornadoes, if they do form one, they don't last long. They're there for a second and then they're gone. But this one, if we do have a tornado, I mean, this is right over Opelousas. You cannot get any more central than that. Look at this, that rotation that we are seeing right here. So you have the winds kind of going like this, and then you have the winds going like that. And it's basically right on top of Opelousas. Now, the good news is this is a very broad circulation. What do I mean by that? Well, take a look. That circulation is the entirety of Opelousas. That does not mean that if a tornado dropped, it would be the size of Opelousas. What it tells me is those winds that are spinning around, that is that mesocyclone, that area of spin, is the entirety of the city of Opelousas. And so what that indicates is that this is not forming up these tight little spins quite yet that would create a tornado. That's better news for us. But we're also pretty far away from the radar. So there's not as much ground truth as we would normally have for this to indicate whether or not there's a tightening of spin over this area. You need to be prepared one way or the other. Opelousas right now, it is on top of you. If you're out towards Washington, this is likely to miss you just to your south. Port Barry, we'll have to watch you. That's kind of where our next area of concern will be as this works its way on off to the north and east. It may ride right along Highway 190. But again, this tornado warning goes in, or continues until 8:45 this morning. Some good signals there that we're not seeing the tightness of rotation that we were seeing a little while ago, but still we can't, breathe a sigh of relief yet. We can't say that, oh, nothing's happening here. We are still dealing with a tornado warned storm for the possibility of a tornado on the ground here. Now, it's gotten a lot messier with the latest update here from Opelousas. It looks like that main threat would be off to your north and east. And the reason I say that is because we're seeing a couple of areas of that spin showing up. So we're still seeing those southerly winds out ahead of it. Here's that big line, that backward C-shaped bow echo down to your south. This is where the greatest wind threat is going to be. But working its way on up, we're getting those winds surging into this system, bending back here. So if anything, this is kind of taking a little bit of a northward turn. Maybe there's some circulation right up along Main Street. Maybe there's a new area of circulation riding along Highway 190. Oftentimes you can get multiple areas of spin in the atmosphere. And so that's kind of what we're watching here. There could be one at that point. There could be another one right along 190. We'll watch this because if this one near 190 continues to tighten up, that's headed over towards Port Barre. This one to the north likely going to fade away, and we're not going to see much more of that here. But still, Opelousas, you are in the worst of it right now, though I would say the rotation has lifted just to your north, right along Main Street here. Or right along Highway 190, maybe a little bit of that split going on. And then this is going to continue to work its way eastward as this whole system moves east. So we're going to be watching this for a very, very long time here. We still have around 10 minutes to go on this system, just on this warning. That expires at 8:45. The other one down to the south, now that we're kind of through Opelousas for the time being, let's go back and show you. If you're in Opelousas, if you're along Interstate 49, this is a rough drive. I would say that this is going to be some really strong winds blowing on through here with that bend in the line right there. Let's go back down to the other tornado warning, and this just gets more impressive looking. Let's go out of Lake Charles here, at least with the wind threat. This is also bowing out. Remember we said that backward C shape? You see that there? Those winds surging into the line here, creating that bow echo. If we have any rotation, it's going to be sitting up on the northern side of this line. That's where those little spin-ups like to kind of hide out on. And we have a couple things to look at here. In fact, it looks like there may be a little bit of an enhanced circulation right here, maybe left over of one, and a new one trying to get going up to the north. So you have those winds surging in here. And then this is where you get that first rotation. This may be the leftover rotation from the water spout that was out over Grand Lake. I don't think we're going to get any indications of debris here. I'll just go back. All this is water. So yeah, we're not seeing any debris showing up yet, which is great news. But certainly this is going to be a situation of very heavy rain, lots of lightning, that tornado warning continuing until 9 o'clock, and that does include Kadn. Right now, you're the biggest town in this tornado warning. This goes up to the parish line there with Acadia. We are looking at more of this heavy rain pushing on through, though, and this is the one that I said all morning long was going to be kind of the one that we need to focus on in the coming hours, just because look at where this is headed. You kind of time this out and you look ahead, and I'm just going to draw this. You know, it's only about 50 miles away from the southern parts of Lafayette and into Youngsville. So we're going to have to keep a close eye. And even if it doesn't go up to Youngsville, we're talking about New Iberia. Some big populations, Kaplan and Abbeville, also likely going to get in on this surge of strong winds along this line. And then on top of all this, we have to talk about the flood threat, because that is nowhere near over. That is likely to continue through much of the morning time here. Look at the storms building back to the south and west on the upper Texas coast. Those could surge northward and head up towards the I-10 corridor, creating more of that flooding concern. That flash flood warning continues until 9:45 this morning. So let's go back to our tornado warnings. We're going to go back up to the one first here near Opelousas. This is the one that we are most concerned with at the present time. It is likely riding right along the 190 corridor. This would put it over towards Port Barre and eventually Krotz Springs if it would hold together, but that's a big question mark at this point in time. You can see that there's not a whole lot of rotation with this. It's very hard to discern any area that may be spinning more than any other one. I think what we're seeing this transition to now is that line of strong winds. What I mean by that is you don't see the greens and the reds together. You just see this big surge of red here going eastward. And so that tells me that this is becoming more of a damaging wind threat rather than a tornado threat. We'll see what the Weather Service does with this warning. They sometimes issue updates, and they may expire it early, or they may kind of cut down on the time frame here or the extent of that warning. But still, if you're in Washington, if you're in Opelousas, and points westwards, that would include Lawtell, you're done with the tornado threat. Washington, Port Barre is where we're looking for that tornado threat to continue here in the next few minutes. But Washington, it really looks like the worst of this is to your south. So still take those precautions. Keep, tuned to News 15. Don't get complacent and say, oh, this is it. Stay inside for about 15 more minutes, and then we are going to be allowing you to kind of like get out and say, okay, things are settling down. Port Barre, I think you are the ones that are most in on this threat here. This is still back off to your west, although with the most recent update, we kind of lost some of this coverage with radar right on top of the areas that we kind of needed. So that leads me to believe that they're going to continue this warning just because they don't know what's going on right now. You see this cutoff line here, that's called a range ring, and that kind of expands how far out away from the radar we are. That's about 60 nautical miles from the radar site. So that's indicating that, we're kind of getting to the edge of real, true ability to see what's going on in the lower levels. From there on, it gets a lot higher in the atmosphere. So we are looking at the potential for a storm. Let me switch over to Lake Charles and see if they have a little bit better of an idea. Yeah, still not a whole lot with this, but if there's some rotation, it would be right here, right along 190. Maybe another little area here to the north of Leonville, but I think that's more of that line that's showing up. I really think the potential for that tornado threat would be right up along Toulouse Road and then heading eastbound right along Highway 90. So we're going to be watching this. Again, this warning goes for another 3 minutes, so we'll see. They may allow this warning to expire, and we may not have to worry about this for too much longer. It certainly looks like that'll be the case. So we'll stay with this one, but also let's get a new update on the one down to the south. Boy, look at that reflectivity, that heavy rain really pushing into Leonville right now and then headed up towards Port Barre. So regardless, you're going to get some strong winds and a lot of heavy rain. Lafayette, just briefly, I want to mention that we're about to get in on the worst of this right now. Actually, here at the station, we are located right about here, and that is not that far away from us. In about 10 minutes or so, we're going to be starting to get some very heavy rain here at the station, about 15 minutes before it reaches Lafayette. The other tornado warning, good news here, is that we've lost that rotational signature on the reflectivity, where we're not seeing a full area of inflow coming into the storm, so we're not expecting that spin up. We're seeing more of a bow echo here as this works its way on off to the east. So this is a strong wind, damaging wind threat. Let's just see if there's any rotation, and that's exactly what we're seeing. This is classic signature for that. You have this big bulge that's right here. All of this extremely strong winds behind this, and this is all working its way on off to the east. This is likely 50-plus mile-an-hour winds here that's going to come just to the south of Kaplan at its current pace. The spin, if there is any spin, is going to be up to the north here, just to the south and west of Kadn. That's where we're kind of seeing that spin showing up on our map, but really there's not a whole lot showing up. This would be right around Spencer Road if we do have any of that rotation going on. We are not really seeing a whole lot more of that spin going on currently here into the northern parts of Vermilion Parish. Although if you are in Kadn, I would definitely be keeping a close eye on this because this has traveled more to the north. Again, this is the leading edge of those strong winds. This is likely to go just to your south here, but still, if it surges out a little bit more, Kadn, you will be right in on this. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. Let's go back up to the tornado warning that's set to expire here in the next minute or so. We're just going to leave this on. There's that tornado warning for Washington, Opelousas, and Leonville. I will let you know as soon as they give us any updates here because that is supposed to go 8:45. So we'll be getting that here very shortly, whether or not they're going to be doing anything, reissuing this warning or just letting it expire. We should actually be getting that right now, so we'll let you know on that. This one, again, continuing for maybe another minute or so. Otherwise, they are likely to drop this, and we will be done with the the tornado threat here into St. Landry Parish. And there you go. So the warning is now dropped for St. Landry. We are done with that one. We'll keep an eye on this storm, see if it tries to cycle again and bring in some more of those warm air winds that could try and develop another tornado. But our main focus now is on this Vermilion cell. Let's see what we're looking at with the velocities here, if we're seeing any tightening up. There's a little indication here, maybe on the northern side, right in there, you see some greens going around, reds going around. Maybe right in here we see a spin up trying to form. We'll have to watch this, but again, this is south of Kadn, so it looks like any tornado threat will miss Kadn to the south by about 5 miles as it stands right now. Now, again, if you're in Kadn, I want you to be prepared. Go to the lowest level of your home and make sure that you are away from windows, those outside walls, because that's where debris can still fly on through. Right now, this is going to continue until 9 o'clock, this tornado warning. And again, some good places to be: bathroom, interior bathroom, away from the outside walls, under a stairwell. If you have bike helmets, maybe put those on just to be on the safe side. We're going to continue to update you on this as we get more information. Let's see, we just got some new stuff from the Weather Service, and it looks like they have just issued a severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go up and show you that for a second, because that storm here in Vermilion Parish is still not doing a whole lot. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for the storm that was tornado warned. So this is the one that we were talking about was gusting out. You had that bowing out segment that was going to be producing some very strong winds. They have now gone ahead and changed this from a tornado warning to a severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning is in place until, let's see, we just got some new information. So the severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 9:30, and that is for winds that are going to be gusting upwards of 60 miles per hour. In Washington, we just got a report of some wind damage, reports of a roof blown off a home in Washington. So we're going to have to get on that and see if we can get some more information. That would be right where we were seeing that tightening of the circulation as well. So that is something that we'll need to really keep a close mind on here as we go forward. So that tells us a whole lot that these storms mean business. And so that's why they had that severe thunderstorm warning. Because of that one report, they've gone ahead and issued that severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that is for St. Landry and St. Martin parishes. It's for the very far northern part of St. Martin. This will include places like Bushville Highway, State Route 31, and Leonville as well. We're seeing some of that showing up here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that should also include Arnaudville. So it looks like Arnaudville is also included, and Portage. Arnaudville and Portage, this is east of the interstate, so we're not talking about Grand Coteau or Sunset. This is going to be from Leonville, Arnaudville. If you're in Arnaudville, you're in it right now. This is the worst of it. Up towards Port Barre, you're in the worst of it too, that line extending to the north, and then Washington, where we have that report of damage from this system. So we're going to be getting you more information on that. This was the storm that had that tornado warning that went right through into Opelousas about 10 minutes ago. And then let's go back down to the tornado warned storm here into Vermilion Parish. Again, this is south of Kadn, where we're seeing the worst of this system. And what I'm going to do is switch back over to our wind product. Still not seeing a huge couplet or anything that indicates that this is rotating rapidly, but still that broad circulation right in here. A lot of this is the wetlands area. So what we may have, this is kind of marshy area. This may be more of a waterspout type deal rather than a true tornado on the ground. A lot of these times when you get these bow out segments, you get that enhancement from the waterways, because remember, land induces more friction. It slows the winds down, whereas water accelerates the winds, and so you get that natural spinning motion here. And so that's what we're likely seeing in this part of Vermilion Parish, south of Kadn. A lot of waterways out here, probably an enhancement of the winds, likely why we saw that bowing segment that formed, and you can see that here clearly defined. This is the leading edge of those stronger winds. Right in here, I wouldn't be surprised if we were getting close to severe limits with those winds. I'd say 50 to 60 miles an hour, but just below severe. And that tornado threat exists just to the south of Kadn. But still, very interesting signature here. What you got going on, you have this big bowing segment. Here's that bow echo. And right here at the top of it, this is where we're likely seeing any of that rotation going on. This is Kadn right there. And you can see that that big line surging out into parts of Vermilion Parish. What I would say is the tornado threat is mainly for the Kadn area, but this is likely to become a severe threat farther east. And so what I mean for that is Intracoastal City will be one of those areas that we watch because of that surging wind that's pushing through. We are getting the storms right now here in Lafayette. Let me go up and show you what's going on. The leading edge of this is now entering into Lafayette and Scott. So I don't want to, miss anybody here. Let's do a wide view and show you the whole thing of what's happening. We've had these big areas of showers and thunderstorms form up this morning, causing flooding concerns up to our north and west. That is that green blinking box you see on your radar right now. That indicates that we have seen upwards of 6, 7, 8 inches of rain fall this morning, leading to flooding issues back to the west. Now this line has progressed southward, and as it's done so, it's formed these little bow echoes, these little backward C shapes on radar. That's where we're seeing an enhancement of strong winds. We got a couple of them. There's one in Vermilion Parish that also has a tornado threat with it. There's another one in St. Landry Parish that did have a tornado warning with it. It has been transferred over to a severe thunderstorm warning, and we've had reports of damage in Washington. So a whole lot going on. That bow is now into Lafayette. The strongest winds have pushed east of I-49. They're in Arnaudville right now, headed over towards Portage. They're past Leonville, moving through Port Barre right now. The strongest winds also right along the I-10 corridor, right at the I-49, I-10 interchange, about to head into Breaux Bridge. Into Lafayette. If you're in downtown, you're getting the leading edge of this. If you're down by the mall, down around Johnston, Ambassador, still about 2-3 minutes away. You go into Maurice, still not seeing the worst of this yet. It's about 5 minutes from you. If you're in Abbeville, the worst of this is back off to your west into Vermilion Parish. We're going to be closely monitoring you, because not only is there that surge along the line, but there is a tornado threat that exists with that line too. So a big line of storms working their way on in here with that tornado warning here in Vermilion Parish that continues until 9 o'clock this morning. So we still have about 8 more minutes on this warning. Let's get in a little bit tighter. Go towards Kadn. This is going to miss you to the south, Kadn. That is good news. This is staying over a mostly unpopulated part of the area. This is the White Lake Conservation area just to the south of the little waterway that runs here. There are some areas of population here south of Kadn. Let's see, I'm going to pause this here, and you can see just that intense surge. Watch this again, boom, that intense surge of winds rolling through the area. If we do have any rotation, it's showing up right here, right along Eddy Street, Wright Road, State Road 711, Ditch Road, and then heading over towards State Route 3093. That would be Meridian Lane there. So that's where we're kind of looking at the worst of this. There's those greens going towards the radar, red's going away. You have that circulation in place. It's very broad, meaning it is a large area of spinning winds. This is not a tight circulation, so it's not expected that there is a tornado on the ground, but you need to treat this as such. And if you live along some of these roadways, again, Eddy Road of most concern right now, State Route 711, Ditch Road, Wright Road, State Route 3093, those are the areas of biggest concern currently with this system for the potential of a tornado forming up. Again, not a confirmed tornado, but still the potential exists there for one. We just got some new information from the oh boy, we just got one, a tornado warning for Acadia, Lafayette, and Vermilion parishes. So this is extending up into Lafayette. All right, let's go, and we are going to stay with you here for a while because this new tornado warning goes until 9:30. So we're going to stay on the air through 9:30 as it approaches into Lafayette and Youngsville and Abbeville. So this includes some very significant populations. It's just outside of downtown Lafayette, but if you're in Scott, this also does include you. If you are in Maurice, this includes you. Kaplan, you are the next in line. In fact, I want to show you, there's Kaplan, and there's that rotation that continues to show up on our radar. And what this is indicating is right here we have that rotation. I've zoomed out a little bit just to show you where that is. There is Kaplan. This is moving at, let's see, east at 40. So let's go 40 miles. That's about 40. So it's stretching across the area. That would place it in Kaplan about 9:10, in about 10 minutes. Abbeville at 9:20. So we still have a long way to go with this. One thing I will say is this does appear to have more of a little bit of a northward movement to it. So what I mean by that is when we go back to the frame before, where I would suggest the tightest rotation would be, let's just play this out, there to there. That's more of a northeasterly movement. That takes it closer to Kaplan. That is not a good sign. So if you're in Kaplan, we are going to really want you to get into your interior room, away from outdoor windows or the windows on the outside of the house, away from those outside walls. Get into an interior room, a bathroom. Certainly under a stairwell works. Grab the helmets. If you have those bike helmets, maybe a mattress. Just go down for a little while in that safe space. Put us on, turn us up, listen to us. You can stream us on your phone. We're going to be with you through the duration of this, which now goes until 9:30. So we still have 30 more minutes to track this tornado warning. And this does include parts of the Lafayette Metro. This would include, if you're down by the mall, you're included in this tornado warning. Scott is also included. Maurice, you're included. Abbeville, Erath, you're also included. This does not include Delcombe, but it could if this gets extended eastward. So we're going to be watching this very closely here. Our main concern right now is Kaplan for the potential of a tornado here. That rotation just south of Kadn. You can see those winds swirling around like this. Also, I don't want to sleep on this either. You see down to the south, if you're in Intracoastal City, you are going to get blasted by some strong winds here within the next 30 minutes. Those are surging down towards the south out ahead of this system. So if you're in Intracoastal City, definitely prepare for that. If you're in Abbeville, prepare for the strong winds. If you are in Kaplan, you need to be preparing for a possible tornado within the next 10 to 15 minutes. That is that line working its way on off to the east. We have that spin just to the north here. It is riding right along Main Street here, and I think that's LA 14 that runs right through there. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's LA 14 that rides into Kaplan there in Vermilion Parish. But we're going to be continuing to watch that here as it continues to work its way on off to the east. And yes, that is LA 14. So Kaplan, we're going to be watching this surge of strong winds, possibly a tornado, working its way on into your area. Now, we don't have confirmation of a tornado yet, but we do have the potential for one that could be working its way on towards the east. I'm looking at National Weather Service right now, seeing if we have any new information coming from them. There's a bunch of strong wind reports coming out of this, so regardless of this system producing a tornado and the heavy rain, we have to talk about the strong winds. There's a lot going on with this line of storms as they work their way on off to the east. And let's just switch back over to this. I don't want you to sleep on this either. Look at the intensity of this rain that is falling right now from Kadn to Kaplan. I know that this is still out over that White Lake Conservation area, but there is a lot of heavy rain, possibly some hail falling with this as well, as this line continues to push off to the east. Now you look out there, you can see that surge. It is going to be riding right along LA 14 into Kaplan, regardless of the tornado threat, and then eventually over towards Abbeville and stretching down to the south to Intracoastal City. So this is taking up pretty much all of Vermilion Parish, at least for that damaging wind threat. The tornado threat, though, is for the very northern parts of Vermilion Parish. It does include portions of Acadia, the very southern part of Acadia Parish, and it does extend into Lafayette Parish, including the city of Scott, and also including Maurice. And if you're down towards the mall, right along Ambassador and Johnston, that's where we're seeing this also including right now. That is still a ways away. I'm not going to focus too much on that right now just because, we're tracking the threat well back to your west. But you need to start preparing. If you are in this tornado warning, get down to that lowest level, away from the outside windows, away from those outside walls, bathrooms, certainly under stairwells. Grab the bike helmets, maybe a mattress. Just get everybody piled in and just hunker down for the next